This episode of the Blue Collar Real Estate Podcast brought to you by Stacy Mayo and the Scott Miller team at Ruoff Mortgage. Whether you're buying new or refinancing, Ruoff has a solution for you. Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Blue Collar Real Estate. I'm Greg Mayo.
And I am Ryan Herget. Greg, you just revived yourself, right 2 seconds before going live on stage here, like you almost died, I feel like. And we recovered nicely, and here we are. We're ready to rock and roll on another Friday at 5.
And I'm excited. Not only do we have our normal sponsor, Stacy Mayo and the Scott Miller team at Ruoff, but I didn't tell you before the show, but we actually have a new advertising opportunity.
You have to tell me about this.
The Incredible Hulk.
The Incredible Hulk. Man, I feel blessed right now.
We had a conversation earlier today.
You and
The Incredible Hulk. And I realized when he hulks out, he's just really a big banner.
Oh.
No, too much?
That took me a second. That took me a quick second. I caught up with you on that one. And
well,
there it is,
anyway.
everybody. Cha-ching.
Thank you.
There we go. Moving on.
See you next week.
That is our show this week. So, Greg, we are going to dive into, we are continuing our series on the trades industry this week, and we were talking about something that I am super excited about this week. You, maybe not quite as much. I did not find the video. I looked mightily for this video when we were up on a roof together about, 5-6 months ago, maybe.
Oh,
yeah. And you were like Spider-Man crawling backwards down this roof. And I have video of that, but I could not find it for this episode. So
God.
We are going to talk about roofing this episode in continuation and in the, light of the trades industry. Roofing is something that I absolutely love because it's something where you get up high, you're doing cool things. And yeah, it's not easy. It's super hard actually, but man, it's a cool industry. So we're going to dive into that this week.
It is, and it's so unbelievably important.
Super important, because think of every building that you've ever been in ever. What do they all have in common?
A roof?
A roof, right? So
What
there
do
we
I
go.
win, Jason?
There we go.
I got it right.
Jason, there it is. So we've got a $5 gift card from nowhere coming to Greg Mayo here in just a brief moment.
Here's the thing. All joking aside, I've done every trade at some point.
Yeah.
Roofing I just never liked.
Why did you never like roofing?
Well,
Because I'm the opposite.
I think the first time I did a roof, I was a part of the tear-off as well.
That's awful.
3-layer tear-off.
So you got initiated on a bad roof.
Yep.
It sounds like.
And I was in running shoes all day.
Oh, well,
so
that's
my
convenient.
ankles felt like they were going to snap. And I really, after I bungee jumped in '94, story for another time.
Never done that.
I decided I didn't like heights that much. So I've never liked being on roofs. But I've done some. I've roofed many barns that I've built and whatever. And I can tell you, if you're watching and you think, well, roofing's nothing, it's super important to do it right. Number one, all the different layers and the ice and water shield and stuff you'll get into.
Yeah.
But if you don't have the roof right, then the rest of your house is screwed because
Nothing
it's
else
going to be
really
soaking
matters.
wet.
Yeah, nothing else really matters at that point. And so that's something I love about it. I love getting, one of my favorite things to do on a weekend is on a Saturday morning, get up on the biggest, tallest roof that I can possibly find and take a cool photo, because there's always good photo opportunities up on top there. And I just enjoy it. It's like a little bit of an adrenaline rush, since I don't jump out of airplanes enough anymore. But it's awesome. It's fun. It's exciting. And it's something, like you just said, every single property needs the water to be out. And so that's what roofing is all about, is how do you keep the water out of your house? How do you keep your house dry? And that's what this industry is all about. And it is, again, I'm repeating myself at this point, but every single building that one lives in on this earth has a roof on it. Right. So that means there is a plethora of amazing opportunity to do business here. And we're going to dive into what all of those opportunities look like and what some different types of specializations look like within that right now. But let's kind of get started by talking about, from the roofing industry standpoint, what are some of those areas of specialization? Because there's, every single, again, structure has a roof on it, but all of those roofs are a little bit different. And every single difference there creates a new opportunity for somebody to earn a living, which is why we're doing this show right now.
Right.
So
let's start with residential.
Yeah.
And the first one on the residential list is like my favorite.
Right.
And people that know me know I'm a carpenter and they'll understand why. But talk to me, residential. Let's start with the first one. Go.
All right, so we're going to talk first about the oldest type of roofing that exists out there right now. So I don't know if Jason can maybe pull this photo up right now, but there's a photo of a cedar shake roof. So this is one of the oldest forms of a roof that exists out there right now. And maybe we'll get the photo, maybe not. I don't know. There it is right there. But I found this photo from like the 1800s, right? And these are dudes that are putting cedar shake tiles on an old roof from like 1889.
That's
right?
me on the left.
And so it looks like you actually on the left. I'm the guy in the mustache on the lower part right there, even though I don't have a mustache. But nevertheless, like that's what this is all about. So if you're not on YouTube right now, hop over to YouTube right now, check this part of it out, because this is the coolest photo of all time, I feel, because it just, these are guys that were doing what they do. They don't have any safety harnesses on. OSHA was not in existence at that point in time.
Right.
Hopefully they didn't drive by and catch these guys and find them. But nevertheless, like this is a cedar shake roof. This is like the most primitive form of roof, and it's just literally cutting trees, cutting them into slats, and putting them on your roof to keep the water out.
But they have to be put on in a very, very precise manner.
Very precise manner. So this is one of the most complex types of roofs, and one of the reasons why we don't see it as often, today is because it is so complex. It is unfortunately a dying trade right now, because there's not as many people today that can install a roof like this, because it is so complex. And it's also very expensive relative to some other forms of roofing that we'll talk about here in just a few minutes.
And if I can just jump in for a second, because I don't know much about roofing, so I don't have a lot to add today except for bad dad jokes. But this roof, if you're watching on Facebook or YouTube or whatever, the slats going across is the sheathing. Now we would have plywood. That's called skip sheathed. Yep. And they do it for ventilation. Well, if you look at the technology around cedar shake roofs now, the installation method is very much the same, but the technology behind that shake has changed so much.
Oh, it's evolved dramatically.
With the mesh membranes and all the different stuff. It's
Without
just
a
cool.
doubt. And we're going to spare our audience the deep dive into, the deep layers of roofing. I would love to spend time on that, but Greg already warned me we cannot go too deep into the subject today because I'm passionate about it.
So that's what's funny. Before the show, what I tell you, dude, if you start getting all deep diving, I'm going to have to stop you. And then I start doing it. So the next one.
Cedar shake is one of the most, original and at this point in time one of the most expensive forms of roofing, because it is truly just that. It is a dying art. There's not a lot of people that exist left that know how to install this thing, and nevertheless it's got its pros and cons. But we're going to dive into the most common form of type of roofing today, and that's an asphalt shingle roof.
Whose fault?
The most common type.
Whose fault?
Asphalt.
Thank you.
That damn ass, right? So an asphalt shingle roof, this is the most common type of roofing that you're going to see out there today. So 9 out of every 10 roofs that exist in the continental U.S. at least, have this type of roof on, and it's just an asphalt shingle. This is a premium shingle that we have in the photo behind us if you're on YouTube right now. But point is that this is what 9 out of every 10 roofs that get installed in the U.S. today have on it. So if you're living in a house, you probably have some form of an asphalt shingle roof on it. And again, this is a great industry. I love this industry. I'm going to tell a quick little side story here, but again, when I got out of real estate 12 years ago now, I stumbled into the roofing industry. And after going out on a couple job sites, working with some of the guys that were putting these roofs on, I just truly fell in love with it. I fell in love with this industry. I fell in love with the people that do the work. And there's an element of danger to it, because you are up high, but nevertheless, it is a really cool industry. It is a really cool business. And when you can fix a problem that somebody has on their house and make it go away, that's the most rewarding thing ever. And when somebody's got an old roof and they're having problems with it, and you can just simply fix that problem, that's what I love about this business.
You guys are coming out to fix a problem on my roof tomorrow.
Tomorrow morning, 8 a.m. That's it. So
don't knock. I won't be up at 8. So the next roof, we could spend forever on asphalt.
Asphalt. And again, we're not going to go into all of the different types of roof. Well, we are going to talk about different types of roofing, but the next type of roof is a slate roof. And this is probably the most sophisticated roof, and probably one of the most expensive types of roofs that you can put on your house right now is an actual slate roof. This is probably one of the most primitive and oldest forms of roofing that exists out there. If you look at some of the cathedrals that were built over in England, they all still have the original roof on it. That's probably 300 years old at this point, and that's what a slate roof is designed to do.
And help people understand, that's not just a name, it's actually stone.
It's actually a stone roof. So there's an immense amount of weight. There's a ton of skill involved in installing a roof like this. But at the end of the day, it's extraordinarily beautiful, and it's also extraordinarily expensive. So, here in Indianapolis, one of the only places in town that we consistently still see this is in the Meridian Kessler area.
Yep.
Up on the north side of Indianapolis, homes built in the early 1900s, et cetera. And some of these roofs are just beautiful. They're absolutely beautiful roofs. Now, are you going to get your money out of it if you want to replace your roof and put a slate roof on it? Absolutely not. No, it's one of those things where it's going to last a true lifetime. But at the end of the day, is the cost worth the expense of it? That's up to the individual consumer. But ultimately, it's a beautiful roof that you will never, ever have to replace again in your life,
right.
Period. So the next one we're going to talk about is actually a metal roof. And this is something that is becoming more and more common out there in the industry. And there's a couple different types of metal roofs. The one that we have on the screen right now, this is actually one of the more economical versions, but this is just a basic, you screw it down to the rafters, and it's a metal roof system. This is like, you go to Menards, you buy this roof, and this roof is going to last you 50 years plus. Now, maybe there'll be some maintenance with some of the grommets, around the screws that go through the roof. But ultimately, a metal roof is a very, very good roofing system. You're going to spend about 50% more on a metal roof that you would versus an asphalt shingle roof. But again, it's something you're never, ever going to have to mess with again. If we can go to the next photo here, Jason. The next photo is what's called a standing seam metal roof. And it's just a little bit nicer looking. It's going to serve the exact same functional purpose.
Right.
It's going to keep the water out just like an asphalt shingle roof would, but it's going to look just that next step above.
And you'll notice a lot of that is because the fasteners are hidden now.
Exactly.
Which also adds a degree of difficulty to installing it, right?
It does. And that's why you've got to be conscientious when you're putting a roof like this on. You've got to have somebody that knows what they're doing, because when you've got a hidden fastener system versus an exposed fastener system, boy, it's a lot easier just to screw that stuff down, hope it's all right, versus a system like this. It just takes a little bit more detail and more time to install it and make sure it's all done correctly. Yeah. But at the end of the day, it's a beautiful roof, and a roof like this is going to last you 50 years every day of the week.
We're taking these in order, right?
Yeah.
Okay, this next one.
You're excited.
I'm excited.
So I'm excited about this next one. I have only seen one of these roofs in my entire life, and it's extraordinary. It's a living green roof. So if you're not on YouTube right now, I encourage you, again, scoot over to YouTube and check this out, because this is truly a live roof. You have grass, you have shrubs, you have plants growing on your roof. You see this a lot in commercial applications, like on commercial roofs, flat roofs, which we'll talk about here in just a second. But one of the things I absolutely love about this is such a unique way to utilize space on your roof to do something positive for the environment. So I absolutely love this. I will 100% admit I don't know a lot about this. I've known one person in my life that has installed these types of systems, and I did not get to spend enough time with them, because I think there is a huge market for this. I think just like solar panels, there's a huge market of people that if they knew about this, they knew how to do it, they would be excited about it, because there's, again, you're giving back to the environment. You're contributing back versus just putting a roof on your house to keep the water out.
Well, and if I can just, for a second on this, now I've not seen them on residential applications in person, but on commercial buildings. Now, I live in Plainfield. We have, 2,700 warehouses out there. Yeah. But and not to get off on a thing here, but when you take grassland, trees, even farmland, and you put concrete back with a gravel roof, there's a lot of environmental impacts to that. You can reverse a lot of that by making the roofs green. And there are a lot of places now where on these commercial buildings and some apartment buildings, the roof's green, and they're used for growing and harvesting vegetables.
I love that.
So this is cool. I get so excited when I see this, and now you've given me ideas.
It's just simply something that not a lot of people, at least in our part of the country, have really latched onto yet. But I think once the idea is exposed to more and more people, it's exciting, and it does work. I mean, it exists throughout the entire country right now. In fact, the entire world for that matter. It exists, it works. It's not something that's talked about here in the Midwest.
And do you know what's the cost on something like that?
I truly don't, because I've only met one person that's ever installed this type of roofing system, but it definitely exists. It's something I'm excited to learn more about, but at this point in time, I don't know a whole lot, unfortunately. So,
and it's very popular in the Shire, I hear. Am I wrong on that? Ryan?
I think you're absolutely right, Jason.
That's actually Frodo's vacation home.
It might be, actually.
So,
Might be.
well played, Jason.
Well done, sir.
Thank you.
So as we look ahead here, so, we've got the living green roof, and then we kind of take a look at, the next slide here, which is more of a synthetic roof. And a synthetic roof is really designed to resemble a slate roof, but it's in essence, epoxy plastic product, if you will.
So a fraction of the weight and cost.
It's a fraction of the weight. It's, I would say, half the cost. It's still substantially more expensive than an asphalt shingle roof. You're going to spend probably about 70 times more. I'm sorry, not 70 times, but 70% more for a synthetic roof. But again, it's going to last for 50 years. It's not something you really have to worry about because it's not, you don't have to deal with the conditions that you do with an asphalt roof, like the ventilation problems, the moisture problems, et cetera, because it's literally a plastic product that's going to last forever up on your roof. And most people are living in their homes, 7 years now?
Right.
So it's a product that, while it's immensely cool, in our part of the country, at least, it's not really caught on a whole lot yet, just because, it is a little bit more expensive. And again, people are moving from their houses every about 7 years right now. And so it's not something where a lot of people have really caught on to it here, but it's beautiful, beautiful product. So again, it's something that exists, and for the right consumer that's willing to pay a premium for something immensely attractive on their roof, it's absolutely an option for them. Now, the next one, I'm super excited about.
you are.
So, I just get it out a little bit on this one, but this is the solar roof. So we've installed a couple solar systems on roof. In fact, you and I were just having a conversation the other night about putting solar on your roof.
Yep.
And Tesla has come out with a new shingle. And I'm not uber familiar with Tesla's product yet. We can't even get it here in Indiana, as of today. We can't even get it here right now. But it's an actual solar panel shingle that Tesla is designed to install on roofs. And I think now, as of the date of this recording, they're working on their 4th generation model of this right now.
Oh, wow.
But ultimately, it is definitely the way of the future. This is why I wanted to get into solar today in 2020, because I believe that this is truly the advancement in where the world is going right now. Is how do we put our houses to work for us?
Yep.
Well, your roof is something that, unless you're surrounded by all trees, it is something that you can 100% put to work for you. And I love what Elon is doing with this company and how they're driving technology and driving the movement forward right now, because it's pushing everybody else to get better fast. And that's what I'm super excited about, because he's driving the cost of solar down to where, again, you can put your roof to work for you, to where it's actually helping you pay the expenses of not only living in your house, but, giving back a little bit. You're not contributing to the massive carbon footprint that all of us do right now. So again, I'm super passionate about this. I absolutely love this. It is a product that unfortunately in Indiana today we cannot get right now and install tomorrow, but it's there, and it's going to be there as we move forward.
And we saw this at the Hum Show.
Yeah.
Back last winter. Is it just me, or is it a missed opportunity to, in the driveway, not have a 3/4 ton diesel truck? Is that? No?
I mean, we could put a 3/4 ton diesel truck in there, but we might have to put 58 more solar panels on the side of the house to offset that carbon footprint.
But to your point, this would be a great solution for my house. You were up on my roof the other day.
Absolutely, yeah.
It would be efficient. My house would be covered in solar. So another thing we need to talk about with roofs, because the roof's typically on top of your attic. Mm-hmm. And air gets in your attic, air's got to get out. So we need to talk about ventilation.
So this is something, and
first of all, but before you let's start here. Tell them and me and Jason. Hey, Jason, tell us why it's important. Why does ventilation matter?
Here's exactly why. So we were just on the phone this afternoon, actually, with an insurance adjuster who's like, hey, this roof looks really, really old, and it got hit by hail, right? Well, the reason it looks really, really old, when in fact it was installed, we pulled up the Google images with this insurance adjuster today on the phone, actually. We're on the phone, hey, you in front of your computer? Of course he was. And pull up your computer, pull up Google image from 2002, pull it up from 2009, and then pull it up from 2015. The roof changed. Well, he thought the roof was original from the house being built in 1999, right?
Oh, wow.
He thought it was original because the ventilation didn't exist. There was no ventilation, no air movement. Because if you think about this real quick, if you get into your attic, this time of year, it's relatively cool. Get into it 2 months ago, it's 140 degrees in there?
Right.
Literally, right? So if your roof is not breathing, then it's going to literally bake from the inside out, which diminishes its life. And in turn, I've been up on so many roofs that last half the time that they should because the ventilation is improper, just like installing it wrong, right? So if you're not going to, allow the roof to breathe, if you're not going to allow the roof to just last the length of time it should, it's like not changing oil in your car, basically. So by installing a good ventilation system along with your roof, that is a whole nother area of expertise that so many roofers just simply ignore. They're like, yeah, let's just put a ridge vent across the top of the entire roof. Well, it doesn't solve the problem. There's actually a math formula that all of the shingle manufacturers out there say you have to adhere to, and it's relatively simple. You got to look at the square footage and the volume of the attic and the air movement going through it, and you run a couple math formulas, and you determine how many vents on the bottom and on the top do you need to make this thing last the length of time it should.
And people that are watching and can see this right now, so this is your soffit, this is your ridge. The idea with the soffit vents, if you ever look up under your overhang, you'll see vents, is that air comes in through the soffit vent, moves the air up, out through the ridge, right?
That's it.
So if you're lacking one or the other or both,
your roof is not going to last the length of time that it should. And I'm going to give you an example of, again, we're talking about the trades industry right now. We're talking about creating opportunities within this industry. So I was working for a incredibly large roofing company about 10 years ago right now, right? And at that time, one of the things that we were looking at is like, hey, how can we do a better job for our customers? How can we educate our customers and do a better job for our customers? Well, one of the things that we looked at is like, why do people have to replace a roof before they should? Well, ventilation is the number one reason why that is, because the roof's not breathing, it prematurely ages, and then you've got to spend an extra $10,000 10 years before you want to, right? On ugly money, as you always call it. So the reason why that's so important is because if you specialize in this little bitty niche, you can fix so many problems that exist for people out there. And so where I was going with this entire story was working for this very, very large roofing company here in central Indiana, and in fact, the entire Midwest. We started doing the math on every house that we went out to. Our average job increased by $458.
Nice.
Average job increased by $458 within 6 months of just paying attention to the ventilation component of a roof, because no roof that was quite frankly installed prior to about 2000 has the right amount of ventilation. And again, looking for opportunities that exist within a marketplace. So if you're a roofer, if you're anybody, look for reasons why things are not working the way that they should, and ask yourself some questions. What can I do about that? And that's what we did there. And literally within 1 year, we increased our average job. And this is a company we were doing over 6,000 jobs a year. Take it, 458 times 6,000. That's a decent dollar volume, right? I can't do math in my head. Yeah, it's large. It's large, but that's what I'm talking about, is when you dive into a niche, when you understand why things work and why things don't work, and you can explain that in a third grader level to the end consumer, like, hell yeah, sign me up.
And people need to understand, by becoming a specialist, by becoming an expert on a given trade, like with the former company you talked about in roofing, you increased your revenue per roof, yeah, but the truth of it is you had the knowledge to be able to solve a problem.
That's it. That's more importantly than anything else because as a consumer, if you're replacing a roof, you damn sure don't want to be spending money to replace a roof any time before you need to, right? Because it's the worst money you could possibly spend on your house outside of maybe a crawl space, or an HVAC system or something terrible like that. The ugly money, right?
Right.
It's the worst way to spend money on a house. So if you're going to spend that money, you want to make darn sure that you're going to get the investment, the entirety of that investment out of it, right? And ventilation is a huge part of that. Insulation is a big part of it. There's a lot that goes into it, but ultimately, do it right.
My roof is a great example. The reason you guys are coming over is because, and you said my roof was, I don't know what the shingles were. You said they're like 50-year shingles.
They're awesome. Yeah, they're 50-year shingles.
So we've been in the house 7 years. I think the roof was installed, according to the neighbor across the street, a year or two before we bought it. So they're 9-year-old shingles on a 50-year roof, we'll call it. But I got to pay you guys to come out and fix it because the chimney was flashed wrong. And
right.
So there again, being a specialist, I don't know who did our roof before, but they didn't know what they were doing.
No.
Or you wouldn't be out tomorrow. I mean, you might stop by and have coffee or something, but
I'd have a coffee or a beverage with you, but yeah, I wouldn't be fixing a roof tomorrow if they had done it right.
So let's, oh God, it's already 5:26. Let's jump in quickly to commercial, and then I just want you to talk about it a little bit so people understand the differences, and then I want to talk about the opportunities in roofing and that kind of thing.
So from a commercial standpoint, we've talked a lot about residential. We've talked about all the different applications on residential roofing. On commercial roofing, it's very, very different. Imagine a warehouse. Imagine any type of, commercial building, where you like to go out to eat, etc. Mm-hmm. That's where we're going to see different types of roofing applications, and this is an entire another industry that exists out there, and quite frankly, it's immensely profitable. So let's dive into commercial roofing. So the first application we have for commercial roofing is what's called torch down roofing. This is the most common type of roofing that exists out there. This is the least sexy form of roofing that ever exists. But if you can imagine, and again, you're watching on YouTube right now, you've literally got a torch. You're rolling asphalt rolls out onto your roof, overlapping it, of course, to make sure that it's not going to leak. But ultimately, it's just literally rolling it down on a flat surface. So this is a very basic, very primitive type of commercial roofing application. It works. It's not my favorite. But then you can fast forward to like an EPDM rubber roofing system. And this is a very, very much, but much better roofing system that looks better, is going to perform better. It's going to last the length of time that it should. A basic EPDM rubber roof, Firestone, provides products like this. They're going to last 40, 50 years. Products like this, if they're installed correctly, are going to be awesome. But one of my favorite flat roofing / commercial roofing applications is what's known as a TPO roof. So Jason, if you don't mind, we fast forward here just a second, because this is white. And what's white do? It reflects the sun. Right? So a flat roofing application called TPO, it's basically a plastic type roofing, if you will, to break it down to its most simple form. It's a plastic roof. It's going to last forever. Not forever, but for a very, very long time, especially if it's installed properly. And this is what you see on a lot of commercial applications, a lot of schools. You see this on a lot of, commercial factories, etc. And this is a entirely massive industry right now, because if you look at all of the commercial buildings that exist out there in the world right now, man, there's just an amazing amount of opportunity for people that just simply want to learn a new trade. And that's what so excites me about this, because, again, going back to the very first thing we talked about on this show, every single building in the world has a roof on it.
Right.
And that means there is a lot of opportunity wherever you live to be of service to people out there. So,
let's talk about opportunities. Like any other trade we've talked about, you'll start off usually as a laborer.
Yeah.
Or you could.
Yep. So here's the thing about roofing is there's no basic, you don't have to college, you don't have to have a college degree. You don't even have to go to school. Now, there are apprenticeship programs, especially if you want to go work in some commercial roofing applications, working for, a union, etc. There's apprenticeship programs, but quite frankly, I'll tell you the story how I learned. I literally went out and I ran jobs working for a very large company, and I ran 100 jobs. Probably 180. I mean, a ton of jobs. I ran jobs every day to learn how this thing was done. It was on the job site training. It was, you're out there, you're working with the guys, you're out there carrying shingles, you're out there picking up nails, you're out there doing the job to understand what's it going to take to make the customer happy. And at the end of the day, if you're willing to go do that, you can learn a skill that will pay you dividends forever.
And so what I'm going to say here, and this list of opportunities in roofing you got, no matter which path you choose, labor needs to be number one.
I agree. Because here's the thing, is it's difficult to be exceptional in any of them until you understand how the business works. Because you've got to be able to convey to the customer what they're going, what's going to happen. How do you fix this problem? And it's difficult to know, it's not impossible, but it's difficult to know as a salesperson, as an example, which is kind of the second career path we'll talk about here in a minute, without having run the jobs, without having been there and kind of done the work, to be able to explain it, to walk a homeowner through it and explain, here's what's going to happen and here's why you need to be aware of this. Actually doing the work is some of the most valuable knowledge you can ever gain. And you don't have to do it forever, but do it for a year. Spend a year of your life learning a new skill, And then fast forward on to like the second part of a career path, learning how to estimate, learning how to sell that job, learning how to communicate with a new homeowner, learning how to build value. That's sales. That's stuff we've talked about, on the show forever and ever and ever. But you can be a laborer. You can earn a six-figure living selling roofing right now.
Mm-hmm.
I know many a person that are making six figures right now selling roofing, going out and estimating roofing all day, every day. That's what they do for large companies right now. So that exists. You can be a job site foreman, meaning going out and actually running those jobs. You're not, doing the work, but you're making sure that the laborers have all the materials, everything that they need, and you're communicating with the homeowner.
But you can't run that job if you don't know how to do the job.
That's it. Because you've got to be able to do the work with them. That's one of the things that, again, I'm so thankful that I took the time to actually do the work, learning how to do roofing, because then when you're up on the roof with your crew, they respect you because they know that you've been there, that you've done that, you've done this work with them, and you're not just some dude telling them what to do. And that's what I love about the trades industry is if you're willing to just pull down that shroud just a touch and get on everybody's level, oh my gosh, the level of respect that is gained amongst the people that you're working with goes up through the roof.
And the master, no pun intended, I see what you did there. The master trades people, they want to share with new people.
Absolutely, 100%.
One of the best things that ever happened to me when I got into lawn care, and I didn't know squat about lawn care. I was doing lawn care sales. The branch manager at that time, I was 21 years old, I think. He let me go out on a truck with the lawn care applicators, put down fertilizer, weed control them. Fast forward to I'm 26 years old, I'm running a branch. Every salesman I hired, or saleswoman, spent a week on the truck treating lawns at the beginning of their training. Because you can't sell it if you don't understand it.
Precisely. I cannot agree with that more. And, I'm going to, take that and kind of pivot just a touch here because... Pivot, exactly. And that's because there's, again, opportunities within an industry, right? And that's what this show is about. Where'd that come from?
From friends. When they're carrying the couch out.
I did not see that.
Jason, you with me?
I know what you're talking about.
Pivot!
I missed that one.
Now it's stuck in my head. All right.
So there we go. So I have met some amazing people up on roofs, and a lot of those people are insurance adjusters. So maybe you don't want to be your own roofing person, but man, there's storms every year, especially if you live in the Midwest in areas where there's a lot of hurricanes, tropical storms, etc. So being an insurance adjuster is another amazing career path that nobody's talking to anybody about in high school, hell, even in college. But I know more insurance adjusters that make a strong six-figure living than most other trades out there because they're out there, they're willing to get up on roofs, they're willing to learn a skill that teaches them how to build value for their company, for the consumer, etc. And so being an insurance adjuster is such a great path to get into any trades industry because it teaches you so much about it. And then finally, simply owning your own company. This is something I'm super, super passionate about is, if you've done these things, if you've learned the skill, if you've been a laborer, if you've been a salesperson, why not own your own company? Why not do this stuff for yourself versus doing it for somebody else? Because all you have to do is understand a couple basic business fundamentals, show up on time, do what you say you're going to do, and find good people to help you do it. And owning your own business is truly one of the most awesome things that you could do in your life, I feel.
It absolutely is. And you're right. The principles apply no matter what you're doing. You and I both each have a couple of businesses. We're talking about going in and starting another one in January. It becomes addictive.
It is. It's fun.
And when you learn something like you did 10 or 12 years ago about roofing, look how it circled back around a few years later, and you're like, hey, wait a minute. I see a need. I see a void in the market. I'm going to fill it.
That's it.
And that satisfaction, as Dave Ramsey would say, of getting up, leaving the cave, killing something, and dragging it home to eat, you don't get that by punching a clock.
No, not at all. And that's what I love about being an entrepreneur. It's what I love, and that's why we're doing this entire series on introducing people to the trades, is because there is an immense amount of opportunity that exists in the workplace today if you are simply willing to go out and do the things that other people are not willing to do. Learn a skill, do the work, show up on time every day, and get just a little bit better every day, and the opportunities immediately begin to present themselves.
Now, let's jump down and talk about the path. Because there's a couple points I really want to drill down on.
Where do you want to start? From like being a laborer or like the benefits of being a roofer? Tell me about that.
Well, so first thing, that we kind of touched on. Get in the industry, get a job, start as a laborer.
And I think the
learn.
thing is you have to learn, right? You have to go do this stuff because whoever said when they were 8 years old or 14 years old, hey, I want to go do this? Said nobody. Like, I want to go be a roofer. Said nobody ever. Or I want to go put siding on. I want to go be a plumber. Said nobody ever, right? But until you go do that stuff, until you're around it a little bit, you have no idea if it's something you enjoy or not, right? Well, I was that person. I that's why I speak so adamantly about this, because I would have never, ever thought in my entire life that roofing was something that I would love to do this until I started to do it.
Right.
Until it was an opportunity that presented itself. I just like latched onto it quickly, and then all of a sudden I loved it, and it was, wow, this is cool. I could do something with this. So learn what that is. Understand what those opportunities are. Maybe it's commercial roofing for you. Maybe it's that, the living green roof for you. Whatever you're super passionate about, you have to be excited about it. Otherwise, you're not going to get up early and be better than everybody else and do the things that it takes to be successful, right? So you have to be excited about it. So go try some new things, number one, and then develop that area of specialization, I would say, is number two. After you've been exposed to it for a couple of years, understand, here's what I like, here's what I don't like. One of the great, a mentor of mine, John Reese, he owns a large supplier, supply house here in town, and just an incredible guy that's given his life to this industry. One of the things I love about that is when I sat down with him about a year ago, right now he's like, yes, you want to be a roofer, but what else do you want to do that's going to make you different than everybody else out there? Well, and I thought about that a lot. And he's like, maybe you do skylights. Not everybody likes to do skylights. For me, it was solar. Like, solar is something absolutely amazingly passionate about, but you have to find this area of specialization that nobody else has, and then you own that in a way that nobody else owns it. Because guess what? When there's a unique and complex problem, you're that guy that everybody calls, or gal, I should say. Mm-hmm. You're that guy or gal that everybody calls. And you can truly build your business on a referral basis without having to go out and spend hundreds of thousands of dollars in marketing to grow your business, because you do one thing better than everybody else. And guess what? In this world, good news travels fast.
Yep.
Because nobody has somebody awesome that shows up on time, does what they say they're going to do consistently. And if you can be that person that does that one thing for people, you will never be without a job.
That's absolutely true.
Period. So, and then, again, in addition to knowing about that, once you know about it, once you've done this work for somebody else for a period of time, develop a couple business skills. Understand how bookkeeping works, understanding how taxes work, hire a good person, and then ultimately, I would encourage everybody, start your own business. Do this for yourself. I'm so passionate about that, because until you do shit for yourself, you never really have that freedom that you want, that we all want, right? Excuse that. Thank you, Jason. Good beep.
We're live. Can't do nothing about that.
Sorry about that. But nevertheless, that's what I'm so passionate about, is get out there and go do something for yourself. Be supportive. Go learn a new skill, develop that skill, and be better at it than anybody else. So that way, oh my gosh, there's no reason for somebody to call anybody else, because you're the end all be all at that point.
And that applies to every trade we've ever discussed. Period. Or ever will discuss. But roofing, certainly. Look, I've done roofs. I told you before the show, when I got back from Nebraska in '92, it was in the winter, it was right around Thanksgiving. I went to work for a commercial roofing, torch down. At first, I thought it was cool, blow torch. No,
it wasn't.
It was not my gig. And as soon as I had the opportunity to go do something else, I did. But some people do that, and they're like, "Oh, this is boss."
It is.
And that's why
I'm that guy. I'm that guy. Yes.
You don't get all charged up about carpentry like I do.
No, not at all. Which
is what we're going to talk about next week. But not why Ryan doesn't get charged up. Hey, there it is. But so if roofing's interesting to you at all, if it's something that you think might be a career path you'd like to choose, find a roofing company. I guarantee you could fall down tomorrow and find a roofing company that would be more than willing to start you off as a laborer, hire you, train you, and help you develop into whatever area of this profession you want.
It absolutely exists. There are so many good companies across the country right now. I've got such a good network of people across the country that I've come to know, like, and respect, that own really nice nice companies out there that are committed to doing the work the right way. So absolutely, if there's anything we can do to help, if you have questions about this industry, about any of the industries that we've talked about here on Blue Collar Real Estate, reach out to us. That's why we're doing this, because Greg and I are uber passionate about how do we help people find a path in the trades industry, because that's what we both love, period.
So with that, since we're deep into this one, with that, we're going to wrap up. Hit that, what do we say?
Like, comment, subscribe. Reach out to us. We'd love to hear from you.
And with that, for Ryan Herget, I'm Greg Mayo.
Thanks so much, everybody. We appreciate your time. Hope you all have a fantastic weekend. That's it for Blue Collar Real Estate.
I feel like this was our first time. I don't know why.
It's our second time.
Wow.